The arraignment of Michael Plumadore is scheduled for later this morning, and joining us on the Dan and Dude Show here at Fort Wayne's K105 is K105 legal advisor John Nimmo. What can we expect to see in this arraignment, John, a little later this morning in the death of Aliana Lemon?
He'll see his rights that'll be recorded on a video that's played in the courtroom or down in the jail holding area. And at that time, he'll be asked whether he saw his rights. And assuming that he says he did, then the judge will read the charges to him. There will be given certain deadlines, and they'll ask him whether he intends to hire his own lawyer or whether he's asking for a public defender.
Now, will he actually plead then tomorrow, or does he actually give a plea, or that doesn't even come up?
No, there won't be a plea. And there's nothing in the colloquy that the court conducts that asks anybody to plea.
So it's automatically, they don't even do a plea at all? I mean, is there a way that he would even do this?
No, he'll have to be arraigned. He'll have to go in and be advised of his rights. It's the starting point for any type of criminal process,
Gotcha.
whether it's a simple little felony like stealing from Walmart or a case like this, murder.
We are talking with K105 legal advisor John Nimmo on the Dan and Dude Show here this morning at Fort Wayne's K105, and we're talking about Michael Plumadore going in for the arraignment today. Now, you've had cases like this in the past where somebody commits a violent crime. I guess my question is, how do you do something like this? I know it's your job, but emotionally...
Yeah. Especially since he's admitted to doing it. If you had to defend him, and how would that work?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. I guess the best I can tell you is this. In the past, I've been involved in a number of these cases. I had Joe Cochran, who had killed his brother and 3 friends, and recently I and Michelle Fennessy-Krause represented Rios in the Alejandra case, the
Simone
little
Rios,
10-year-old
yes.
girl that was raped and murdered, and Simone murdered his family later on. I think you got to get in a mindset that this is what we do for a living, that there's a certain passion that we have for our job, much like a mechanic has for, fixing engines. And you have to be prepared because you're going to hear a lot of criticism. You're going to be probably one of the more detested lawyers in town for a few weeks. You just go in there and you do the best you can. And the focus on a case like this, first of all, is to understand what the facts are. We've read them in the newspaper. Many times they're not the same, but usually a confession is a confession. They're taped. So this case definitely has a lot of hurdles. If
you were to defend somebody like this, like you've done in the past, do you ever worry about the repercussions against you, your family, and things of that nature?
That's what you live with doing this. And usually, more times than not, I think if you do your job the way you need to do it, I don't find people hating you for doing it as much as sometimes you get a little more respect than you might think.
K105 legal expert John Nimmo is with us on the Dan and Dude Show here at Fort Wayne's K105, and we're talking about the arraignment of Michael Plumadore, which is scheduled for later this morning for the self-confessed killing of Aliana Lemon. What do you think is going to happen later this morning, John?
Well, I think he'll just have basically a standard type of arraignment. And because of the nature of the case, I suspect if he does ask for a public defender, one will be appointed very shortly. The damage that he has done to his own case, obviously, is already. I don't think a lawyer is going to minimize what's already happened, but it would probably be good for him to have someone appointed to him rather soon so that they can head off whatever damage is already done.
I guess my next question, too, is a death penalty. I know that's not really been mentioned in the news much. When is that decided on when the prosecution goes for the death penalty or they don't?
It doesn't have to be sought right away. They have a substantial period of time before they could make a decision to file it. But it's an expensive process, and I've always told people if you want to make sure that someone lives a long life, you should file a death penalty against them. It's, 20 years... 25 years before the final appeal is even heard. When's the last time you saw somebody executed in Indiana? A couple of years ago we had 2 people, but those murders were, I believe, from the late 80s, early 90s.
Would you be shocked that the prosecuting attorney would be going for the death penalty?
I don't like the word shocked in this case. I wouldn't be surprised if they chose not to go for the death penalty. These cases eventually, at least in Allen County, have traditionally been resolved with a life without parole scenario, which means life without ever getting out of prison. Well, in our last case, Simone Rios, that we fought very hard to save his life, and we were able to get a life without parole sentence. He killed himself 2 years later. How justice is eventually going to be administered down the road is it's not my guess. I don't know.